Epstein's ties to this country are undeniable. Just have a look at Jeffrey's lawyer Alan Dershowitz defending him live on Fox News.
I understand all the feminist groups and the radicals who think this is the worst thing in the world, that anybody ever had any contact with Jeffrey Epstein. Where are all those radical feminists when it comes to the
What?
young Jewish girl?
What?
Me too, except if you're a Jew. I want to have a list of all the radical feminists who are pushing hard to get all these names revealed, and I want to know how many of them have ever actually condemned
This is Virginia, this is Maria, this is Annie. 3 girls who were subjected to depraved, violent sexual abuse at one of Jeffrey Epstein's properties at the hands of elites such as Prince Andrew. And just like how I played you Epstein's defense, I will now play you Prince Andrew's defense.
July of this year, Epstein was arrested on charges of sex trafficking and abusing dozens of underage girls. One of Epstein's accusers, Virginia Roberts, has made allegations against you. She described dancing with you and you profusely sweating, and that she went on to have
a slight problem with the sweating because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat. Oh, actually, yes, I didn't sweat at the time because I had suffered what I would describe as an overdose of adrenaline in the Falklands War when I was shot at. I simply, it was almost impossible for me to sweat. On that particular day, which is the 10th of March, I was at home. I was with the children. I'd taken Beatrice to a Pizza Express in Woking.
Why would you remember that so specifically?
Because going to Pizza Express in Woking is an unusual thing for me to do. A very unusual thing for me to do. I've only been to Woking a couple of times, and I remember it weirdly distinctly.
Look man, I've been to Woking. I don't remember a thing. I think it's genuinely the most boring, forgettable city in the UK. So based on that alone, I'm gonna have to say this story is cap. Also, my fellow Brits, you should all know that Prince Andrew was able to end the sexual assault court case against him. He was able to walk away scot-free. Do you want to know why? Because he paid Virginia a £12 million settlement, and his mummy, the Queen, paid her an extra £2 million settlement. Slight problem with this, they are royals. They haven't earned a penny of their own money in their entire fucking lives. The British royals are funded by the British public. £14 million of fucking taxpayer money being used to free Prince Andrew. Right, back to these victims. They, alongside almost every other Epstein victim, have something in common. They were recruited and human trafficked by Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's wife. See, whilst Jeff used his billion-dollar net worth and his high society connections to get men in the jet, on the island, in front of a camera, and then on a blackmail list, allegedly, Ghislaine, on the other hand, used her British accent, her social charm, to lure the children onto the island, or the ranch, or any other Epstein property. There were dozens. These unsuspecting victims would be enticed in under false pretenses. Then we all know what happens from there. Just listen to Maria recounting how Ghislaine Maxwell and Donald Trump's wife at the time, Ivana Trump, would drive around recruiting schoolgirls.
Donald Trump was always hanging out with Epstein, and Ivana was always hanging out with Ghislaine. And we'd ride in the car with her. Ghislaine's like, I have to get out right now. And she went and got a number from a child.
Did you go for rides often with her and Ivana? Or
yes.
Would she pick up girls all the time?
Yes. She didn't bring them in the car. She would get their phone numbers.
Right.
But she would drive by schools.
Right. So
as they got out.
And what's Ivana doing at this point? You know, what are
sitting in the car.
Now, fortunately or unfortunately, Ghislaine wasn't quite high profile enough to receive a fake suicide like her husband did. Because, you know, if we're being realistic, that's what happened to old Jeff, isn't it? The cameras mysteriously cut out. The prison guards mysteriously fell asleep. The autopsy forensic reports were mysteriously not released. The DOJ's raw footage was mysteriously edited by Premiere Pro, whatever. But Ghislaine is still alive and is currently serving 20 years in prison for, I quote, conspiring to sexually exploit and abuse multiple minors over the course of a decade. I think we can all agree she did a bit more than that. But you want to know what's more shocking? Well, because Trump has stated the Epstein files don't exist, it's all a hoax made up by fucking Obama, you know, there is currently within MAGA a fucking Free Ghislaine movement. Look at this. Free Ghislaine Maxwell.
Like, there are people unironically cheering for Ghislaine Maxwell as if she's some kind of fucking hero right now. She is a child trafficker.
You know what? I actually understand why this happened. Because absolutist Trump supporters will just take whatever he says as fact. And if you blindly believe Trump, then right now you have to assume that the Epstein files are a hoax.
Yeah, let's look at the Epstein list. There isn't one. Barack Obama has been in charge of everything for the last 12 years.
The last 12 years, even during Trump's first term?
No, he didn't do it then.
And if it's all fake and made up, then Ghislaine did nothing wrong, did she? I'll take it back to the start of this video. Remember Alan Dershowitz, Epstein's old lawyer, also coincidentally Trump's old lawyer, may I add? Well, now he's saying Ghislaine deserves immunity. She deserves to be exempt from legal prosecution in return for testifying the truth.
If she were just given use immunity, she could be compelled to testify. I'm told that she actually would be willing to testify. And there'd be no reason for her to withhold any information.
Bear in mind, this man was Trump's attorney in 2020, just 5 years ago. I think that truth might just be a little bit distorted in someone's favor, I think. Maybe, possibly. Is this not the biggest conflict of interest in history ever? Like, look, here is a tweet from Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney from the 22nd. As of recording, that's yesterday. I can confirm that we are in discussions with the government and Ghislaine will always testify truthfully. We are grateful to President Trump for his commitment to uncovering the truth in this case. No, bruh. Keep that bitch locked up. Throw away the key, bro. Throw away the fucking key. Melt it into molten lava. What are you doing? Even the House of Representatives Oversight Committee have voted for a deposition of Ghislaine Maxwell. You know, she should appear in court, give a testimony. As I speak, Trump is desperately doing damage control. He sent his old lawyer Todd Blanche to go have a chat with Ghislaine. Go have a little one-on-one. I wonder what they're talking about.
We used to throw glue sticks at the ceiling.
Okay, insane editors note. My predictions came true. This is already happening. She's already met with the DOJ multiple times. Here's footage of her returning to prison after being interviewed. Because imagine you're Trump, yeah? Here's two options on how to manage the Epstein situation. A, release all the files, all the concrete information we have, expose thousands of elites, including yourself and your boys. Or B, pin everything on a first-hand account, a statement from one of your old best friends, Ghislaine. In fact, we actually know they're still quite good friends, since Trump, I quote, wished her well not too long ago. This is quite an unusual thing to say to a convicted I wouldn't be doing all that. We also know Ghislaine is a serial liar, especially under oath. So Trump is basically making up for the Epstein files not being released by instead just taking Ghislaine's words as the evidence, which obviously will be skewed in Trump's favor because, as I said, Trump's old lawyer, Todd Blanche, literally went and prepared her for this, gave her a script. And what will the script be like? Well, in my opinion, it'll be similar to what Trump spouted off a couple days ago.
Focus on the fact that Bill Clinton, who you know very well, and lots of other friends, really close friends of Jeffrey Summers, should be spoken about. Because, you know, Jeffrey Epstein should be spoken about. And they should speak about them because they don't talk about them. They talk about me. I have nothing to do with the guy.
You have nothing to do with the guy? Really? Is that why you have more photos together than I got with my grandma? Is that why he attended your wedding? Is that why he referred to you as his best friend for 15 years? But why on earth would anyone need Ghislaine Maxwell's opinion on this shit anyway? Why are you interviewing the charged criminal? And why do we suddenly need a new source of evidence anyway? We literally have a stack of factual records regarding this entire operation, which Trump is refusing to release. On top of this, Ghislaine is literally the only accomplice of Jeffrey Epstein that has ever faced any consequences for their actions, and now there's talks of her walking free, being pardoned, or at least getting a reduced sentence. Already, she has received limited immunity. Who knows what's next? And for the cherry on the top of the cake, I'll take it back to the start of this video once again. You remember all that stuff about the royal family, yeah? Well, here's Ghislaine Maxwell sitting on the fucking throne in Buckingham Palace. Yup, this photo was taken in 2002 when Prince Andrew gave Kevin Spacey, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Bill Clinton a private tour of Buckingham Palace.
Any comments on the alleged allegation of your connection with Jeffrey Epstein?
This group is potentially the highest allegation to person ratio I've ever seen. This is worse than a room full of underground rappers. Potentially the most demonic selection of people I've ever seen in my fucking life. The Big Four. You probably have a couple of questions by now. Leo, when are you gonna mention Israel? You haven't said the I word once. Stop trying to avoid the shadow ban and talk about what we came here for. B, how on earth did Ghislaine Maxwell have this insane level of connection to the world's elites? Well, fear not, I will be killing two birds with one stone right now, answering all your questions. Her dad. The primary link between Epstein and Israel is Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, Robert Maxwell. He was an extremely powerful British media tycoon who was heavily, and I'm talking 13 gazillion pounds kind of heavily, involved with Israeli intelligence. He reportedly had weekly phone calls with the Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir. Robert visited Jerusalem about once a month, specifically about 50 times between 1988 and 1991. He had insider-only stakes in Israeli media, tech, pharmaceutical industries. This guy was a Mossad asset if I've ever seen one. He used his media empire, including journalists and investigators, to work for the Israeli government. Here is an extremely clear example of that. Israel's nuclear program is completely secret, right? Just for background information, here's a video I made earlier this month explaining Israel's nuclear policy by comparing it to Iran's. So first off, Iran. In 1970, they signed the Non-Proliferation Treaty, committing to not pursue nuclear weapons and to allow inspections. Yes, Iran submits its nuclear facilities to inspection by the International Atomic Energy Agency multiple times a month, every month. It is therefore certain that as of now, Iran has 0 nuclear weapons. Israel, on the other hand, is somehow just allowed to keep their nuclear program completely secret. No treaties signed, no inspections ever. And you want to know the kicker? Israel neither confirm nor deny their possession of nuclear weapons. You can't make this shit up. The estimated amount of nukes that Israel has is 75 to 400. Even if you ask ChatGPT, does Israel have nukes? It will say yes, but with strategic ambiguity. Oh, okay, yeah. Good to know. See, I was getting a bit worried then, but thank God Israel's nukes are being strategically hidden instead of being accidentally hidden. All my worries gone. But seriously, when you add up how frequently Israel attacks its neighbors, funds proxy wars, strategically massacres civilians, with how short of a lifespan it's had as a civilization, you are genuinely probably left with the most violent nation on earth. So tell me, Trump fans, MAGA enjoyers, whose nukes should we be worrying about? A country who has never built a nuke, whose facilities are randomly inspected 3 times a month by the IAEA to make sure they're not making a nuke, and have signed the treaty ensuring they will not make a nuke. And then we have strategic ambiguity from the most violent nation on earth, who refuse to do any of those measures Iran do, yet instead of 0, they have up to 400 nukes. What do you even need 400 fucking nukes for, bruh? Who is your op? Who could your op possibly be? Oh, I'm sorry, bro. Hamas were hiding under the entire oceanic tectonic plate. We had to annihilate the whole thing. We had to get rid of the whole continent, bro. Sorry. So you might find it interesting to know that Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, is involved in this. That's right. In 1986, a technician at one of Israel's nuclear facilities called Mordecai Vanunu leaked the first ever photographs and details of Israel's nuclear program to the Sunday Times in London. He believed there was no justifiable reason that we should allow any country to secretly produce nuclear weapons, and he risked his life to expose Israel for doing this. However, unfortunately, the newspaper he leaked this information to was owned by Robert Maxwell's media empire, Mirror Newspapers. And regardless of what anyone tells you, in my country, the UK, freedom of press is a myth. Maxwell immediately alerted Mossad to the the Sunday Times' upcoming publication. He tipped off Israeli authorities, who then launched a honey trap operation in which a female Mossad agent lured Vanunu from London to Rome. There, he was drugged, abducted, and smuggled to Israel in a shipping container. He was tried in secret, convicted of treason and espionage, and sentenced to 18 years in prison, 11 of which he spent in solitary confinement. Oh my god. Never trust an Israeli baddie, bro. On top of operations like this, Robert Maxwell was highly suspected of keeping compromat, blackmail-worthy information, possibly as part of his intelligence activities. If this is the case, it means he essentially used his gigantic team of journalists, investigators, etc. to sniff out dirt on important people. Even seemingly unimportant information, such as affairs, can really be leveraged as blackmail if you own one of the world's largest media companies, you know? One Coldplay moment on the front page, you're out of your job, out of your marriage. We know this very well. So it's widely considered that Robert used blackmail material plus his influence to make various people do things in his favor, Israel's favor. Sound familiar? Runs in family, maybe? Unfortunately, just like with Epstein, we will never really quite know, because both Robert Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein took their secrets to the grave in very suspicious sides. Yes, Robert Maxwell fell off his boat and drowned in the Canary Islands in 1991. This is something me and Robert Maxwell actually have in common. Earlier this year, I almost drowned in the Canary Islands. Do not play with them waves in Fuerteventura, bro. Don't do it. Unlike me, however, this Robert Maxwell couldn't muster up the strength to battle the waves and swim to shore, allegedly. He was then buried in arguably Israel's most prestigious burial site, reserved only for the highest elites in Israeli society, the Olive Mound in Jerusalem. His funeral was attended by 6 former heads of Israeli intelligence, and even the Israeli Prime Minister at the time, Yitzhak Shamir, publicly mourned his death, stating he has done more for Israel than can today be said. So look, was Robert Maxwell working with Mossad? You can come up with your own opinion on that one. I'm pretty sure I know mine though. A fun fact about Robert Maxwell is that he was actually Czechoslovakian. Bro went through a whole British businessman rebrand, going from Jan Ludwig Hyman Beinman Mhoch to Robert Maxwell, which is so hilariously stereotypical. That's like a fake name you'd give to the police if you're British. It's funny because Czechia did the exact same thing that Robert did. So considering all the Israel stuff I just highlighted, it's no surprise that people believe Epstein and Ghislaine copied her dad's whole swag. He showed them the ropes, Robert walked so Epstein could run, you know? The general consensus is that over decades, this power couple built up a gigantic blackmail network by getting really rich, powerful dudes into extremely compromising positions, usually stuff with minors, then videotaping or somehow documenting the act and using that footage as blackmail. I will now list the 4 main arguments I have, which to me indicate this theory might have a little bit of truth to it. Firstly, Epstein's little black book. This is a gigantic database of names which was in Epstein's possession. We have never received a completely unredacted version of this database. That's part of what Trump promised he'd do if everyone voted for him. An obvious lie. We do, however, know that it includes 1,571 names, over 5,000 phone numbers, tons of personal information, addresses, family members, etc. Some of the unredacted names on this list include Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Tony Blair, Prince Andrew, Henry Kissinger, Rupert Murdoch, Mick Jagger, Alec Baldwin, 2 former Israeli prime ministers, and of course, Stephen Hawking.
Hey, what the fuck? Stick drift! Stick drift!
Look, my goat Einstein would have never. That's all I'm saying, bro. He would have never, man. Now, this little black book doesn't prove anything on its own. However, secondly, this theory is backed up by the colossal amounts of videotapes found in Jeffrey Epstein's possession when he was arrested. None of these have ever been released. We just know it's an insanely large collection of footage. Pam Bondi stated there's tens of thousands of videos, so we're probably talking millions of hours. And I don't know if it was intentional, but Pam Bondi has admitted that these tapes contain child porn.
The FBI, they're reviewing, there are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn. And there are hundreds of victims. And no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through right now. The FBI is diligently going through that. To the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day.
It's also been stated that some CDs and hard drives have gone missing. The third bit of evidence I have which supports this general theory is the birthday letter Trump sent to Epstein in 2003, which was recently leaked by the Wall Street Journal. It contains a drawing of a naked girl with Trump's signature as her pubic hair, and the letter signs off with the sentence, "Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." See, it's getting a bit sticky now, you know, when you put them all together. And the fourth factor is simply that Epstein's father-in-law was the goat of blackmail, as I've discussed, allegedly. So he already had extremely likely connections to that world. The phony world, you know?
If it's phony stuff in there, because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world.
So there we have it. Feel free to do your own research. I'm just a dumbass. I don't have any qualifications at all in this field, or actually in anything, as a matter of fact. But I personally think it's very likely that Jeffrey Epstein was doing blackmail operations. The question is, who for? Was he doing this for a country's intelligence agency? Once again, to answer this, I have some main points to go through. 1. Here is a tweet from last week where Israel's former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett denies Epstein's links to Mossad. And I think if you consider the historical record of Israeli prime ministers lying, we can basically take this tweet as proof that Epstein worked for Mossad. I love how he ended this tweet by saying, "There's a vicious wave of slander and lies against my country and my people. We just won't take it anymore." As if Jeffrey Epstein is Israel's main PR problem right now. Like, bro, I think you got bigger fish to fry, okay? Just a suggestion, especially since Naftali Bennett, this guy, he is one of the worst Israeli prime ministers ever in terms of destroying the rights of Palestinians. Anyway, alright, 2, let's get serious now. Fake passports. When Epstein's crib was raided, the police found a legit Austrian passport which had Epstein's photo, however a false name, a false date of birth. The listed residence was in Saudi Arabia, and it contained stamps indicating travel to France, the UK, Spain, and Saudi Arabia in the 1980s. Now, why would Epstein need to travel to Western Europe under a fake identity? He claimed the passport was for personal protection, suggesting it was meant for if he got kidnapped as a Jewish American traveling in the Middle East. This argument alone would obviously be bullshit. I mean, I don't know how an Austrian passport would help you out in that situation. However, we know for certain he did not primarily use it to travel around the Middle East. He mainly used it to go to Western Europe, which is very suspicious. 3. The massive discrepancy in Jeffrey Epstein's net worth. Now, on paper, he was a financier. Part of this job is providing the capital to make investments and help manage someone's finances, investments, whatever. So, to work this job, you need a shitload of money, aka capital. For his entire career, Epstein presented himself as being a billionaire, which would make sense since he claimed to run a mysterious money management firm, strictly only for billionaires. This is how he had access to such high levels of society. He was always described in the media and by his acquaintances as being worth over $1 billion. However, after his 2019 death, court documents revealed that Jeff's estimated net worth was around 500 million. You ain't nothing but a broke boy. This would make it impossible for him to work as a financier in the billionaire-only circle which he was reportedly working within. On top of this, he never registered as an investment advisor or broker. There is not a single record of him trading or managing anyone's assets. He did not even have a professional client list. list, which is extremely shocking since we all know Jeff really liked a good old client list, didn't he? It was like his whole thing. It was kind of his whole thing, bro. Essentially, how Epstein earned so much money remains completely unknown. He lived so extravagantly and operated in such high levels of society without any traceable revenue stream at all. That's weird. There's only so many people who can pay you crazy amounts of money with no trace. One being a country's intelligence agency. Just saying, just putting it out there, you know? For his first arrest. This is Alexander Acosta. He was the Labor Secretary in Trump's first term. This was Trump's #1 guy. Before that, he was a US attorney. And when Epstein faced his first bout of criminal charges in 2008, after all these allegations first came to light, Acosta let Jeff walk away with the calmest sentencing ever in fucking human history. You know what? I'll just read out the Wikipedia paragraph. In 2007 to 2008, as US attorney, Acosta approved a plea deal that allowed child trafficking ringleader Jeffrey Epstein to plead guilty to a single state charge of solicitation in exchange for a federal non-prosecution agreement. One of the craziest things about this to me is that Jeffrey Epstein was in prison for 13 months, right? During those 13 months, he was allowed to fucking leave the prison and work. He was often given work leave. Bro, people work 9 to 5s and they don't get work leave. This guy went to prison and got fucking work leave? And then just consider how fucking obviously fake this guy's job was. It's basically like letting someone out of prison because they gotta make a YouTube video to fit their upload schedule. Like, are we being fucking for real?
Why Sigma males are more attractive than alpha males. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Anthony Spade channel.
Hopefully that's the deal the British government give me after they watch this. But I think we can all agree that Jeff was probably realistically doing some very important work for someone if they genuinely had to let him out of prison to do that work. And we're probably talking the kind of work that the government or an extremely close friendly government might have a special interest in. All I'm saying. And you want to know the cherry on the top for this point? It's been reported and widely accepted that during Acosta's vetting process for his cabinet role in the first Trump administration, he said, word for word, "I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave him alone." Bruh, that is just an allegation. However, it blew up loads and Acosta has not confirmed nor denied saying it. And for me, that kind of speaks for itself. Oh, and then point number 5 is just that Epstein was directly in person linked to 4 Israeli prime ministers, one of which, Ehud Barak, was extremely close to Epstein. Here is Ehud Barak being caught entering Jeffrey Epstein's house by a photographer. Note that he is covering his face. After this came out, he officially stated, "I was cold." And by the way, this was post 2008, meaning Jeffrey Epstein was a registered sex offender and realistically, everyone kinda knew what was going on. I'm sure it was cold, bro. I'm sure it was freezing, matter of fact. I'm sure. Here is a video from that same apartment, which I think is absolutely fucking insane. I just want to mention that it wouldn't really be fair for me to point out Epstein's ties to Israeli prime ministers and not point out his ties to US presidents. Epstein had, absolutely unfathomably close relations with some US presidents, one of which is the president right now. And there we go, make your own mind up. What I will say though is that it's not uncommon, it's not unheard of for countries like America or Israel to use blackmail within their intelligence operations. I will give you my favorite example of this. Did you know that in the late 1950s the CIA tried to blackmail Indonesia's founding president? Their aim was to get him to cut off his growing relations with China and the USSR. So they filmed a fake tape using a lookalike of this guy and planned to threaten him with the distribution of this thing and cause some kind of scandal, you know? However, things were a bit different back then. You couldn't just find anyone on some app to film a tape for you. The CIA had to instead hire professional stars to act out this scene. They were the only people willing to do it, and apparently these stars so good, the dude was smashing up so well that the Indonesian president actually requested that they release the tape. He thought it went so hard. He thought it would actually improve his reputation. He reportedly hysterically laughed whenever it was mentioned, and therefore the CIA never released it. And when the guy was eventually overthrown, it was of course because of some actual political shit and not anything to do with the sex tape. But I can think of someone who was offed because of many sex tapes. Jeffrey Epstein. So here's my conclusion. Personally, I don't think this guy was doing all the Island Boy stuff just for the love of the game. I'm sure there was some other crazy level shit involved. Some people will say he worked directly for Israel. Some people will say he worked indirectly for Israel by working for Zionist billionaires who were funded by Mossad anyway. Some people will say he was working for another country or another very influential organization, or even just a close circle of elites. But the one thing I can say for certain is that we will never know the truth as long as Epstein's old best friend is the fucking US president. Dude, I'm gonna just read you the news headline I saw pop up right now as I'm saying these fucking words. Like 2 minutes ago this happened. Republicans shut down House floor to avoid Epstein vote. Bruh. Speaker Mike Johnson said he is shutting down the House operations early this week, sending lawmakers home to a 5-week summer break as Republicans and Democrat House members called for yet another release of Jeffrey Epstein's case files. Are we being for real right now?
I ran across Jeffrey Epstein at parties, at fundraisers.
President Trump, would you consider appointing a special counsel to investigate the Jeffrey Epstein investigation?
I have nothing to do with it.
Here's a new radio clip of bro accidentally admitting he's in the files.
This is Trump accidentally admitting that, yes, he is in the Epstein files. Listen closely.
They were run by Chris Wray and they were run by Comey, and because it was actually even before that administration, right? They've been running these files, and so much of the things that we found were fake with me.
What?
And so much of the things that we found were
Fake with me.
and so much of the things that we found were fake with me.
So much of the things we found in the Epstein files were fake with me. Accidentally admitting, yeah, I'm all over the Epstein files. In fact, he flagged the FBI and said, hey, you guys got to go through all the Epstein files and remove all of the stuff involving President Trump.
Senator Durbin says he has received information that Pam Bondi pressured about 1,000 FBI personnel to comb through tens of thousands of pages of documents related to Epstein and flag any mention of President Trump. Hey, seems like a completely normal thing to do. It's a completely normal country. Nothing wrong with it. New photos just got released of Epstein attending Trump's wedding. Trump has threatened to take away his critics' American citizenships and deport them. For example, Rosie O'Donnell, a comedian who posted a photo of Epstein and Trump together. I'm gonna have to get ice on you. I'm gonna have to do it.
Get him out of here. Get him out of here. Go home to your mom, darling. Go home. Get him out of here. Out.
I don't know Prince Andrew, but it's a tough story. It's a very tough story. I don't know him, no.
I never
had the privilege of going to his island.
On July 18th, Trump made a big deal calling for the release of the grand jury information on Epstein. But this is absolutely not the Epstein files. It's actually the opposite. It will be heavily redacted by a judge. When he says this, he is not ordering the release of anything. In fact, he's doing the opposite. This will redact the names even more.
President Trump just achieved a tremendous victory.
And I have to admit, the general theory I was talking about, Epstein blackmailing these guys, is kind of flawed. Because why would you need to blackmail these men if they are openly pedophiles anyway?
You know about predators and things like that. I mean,
you are one.
All right, I was going to say that. But it's true.
She's really a beautiful baby, and she's got Marla's legs. We don't know whether or not she's got this part yet, but time will tell.
You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years.
What? Ivanka, what's the favorite thing you have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say but I can't relate that.
Yeah, do you have an age limit, or would you?
No, I have no age. I mean, I have an age. I don't want to be
the
like
upper bracket,
Foley with 12-year-olds.
And to finish this video, I would like to quote Zoran Mamdani. If releasing the Epstein list would collapse your government, then your government needs to collapse. Thank you for watching, guys. Please go subscribe now so I can complete my goal of getting 10 times the amount of subscribers that Benjamin Netanyahu has. This has been my dream for as long as I can remember. I'm sure because this video is about the I word country, it might not reach its full potential. So if you want to help boost it, just interact with any of these buttons, spam them, do anything. Hit that share button if you're feeling crazy, and watch out for my name on the news when inevitably something terrible happens to me in like the next 2 weeks.